Okay, today we're going to draw a character from Quahog Corner by the name of Crabby. Now, Crabby's fairly easy to draw. All you do is you draw an oval first, and that's for his body, and then you draw two more ovals for his eyes. Now, if you kind of draw a half moon at the top of his eyes, and another half moon on the other half of his eye, and then you draw a couple little ovals inside for his eyes, and then you draw another half circle for the mustache, and then cut it up to where the middle is. That's basically Crabby. Now, his claws are big, so they're big ovals, almost the same size of his body. Now, so you have two ovals. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7 ovals, and you have three half moons. And so there he is. Now, it's just detail. So as far as the detail goes, when you start to color in the eye, and I'm going to just give you a little close-up here, when you're drawing a pupil, I always try to draw a light source in the pupil. So when you color in the pupil, the character looks more alive than just having a black dot. So in these eyes, I would make the little white dot, and then you can see he's starting to come alive. Now his skin around the eyes, you have to draw in sort of a convex lines. And then I always darken the tops of the eyes because that's where the eyelids are when he blinks. And so I'm just darkening the line around it. So then I have two eyes. Now I'm going to erase some of the line inside just to make it lighter, to give it just so you can see his eyes okay. Now as far as his eyebrows, those half moons up there, the thing about hair, okay, is that you really would like to try to make it as simple as possible. So you would probably make a little tuft, a second tuft, sometimes a third. You bring it down. You can put a couple of extra lines in the end here. You can put a line up like that, so it's like they're overlapping, and just round it off a little, and that's all you have to do. A lot of people will color draw all the hairs in like that. It doesn't look that good when you do that. So it's better to keep it simple. So that's why we keep the eyebrows on Crabby fairly simple. Because really that's what cartooning is all about. You're just keeping everything simple. And then you bring some skin from the eyebrows down so they touch. So now you have the whole eye area of Crabby completed. Now, he's not really fat. So what we got to do is we got to cut down on these lines. And then we have the shape of his shell. The shape of his shell really underneath, again, you follow around the oval that you made, and we're kind of sort of cutting a piece off on either side, like a couple little bites out of the side. So there you have his shell. And then let's put the mustache. The same thing here is that you don't want to give a lot of lines, and the lines will go in different directions because the mustache is parted in different directions. So there is the mustache. His claws are connected to his body. Let me just show that. What I've done is I've come up with this little sort of a donut, and the arm grows out of the donut. So if you look at it sideways, it's kind of a little growth that comes off of him, and then the arm comes out of that. So it's a little bump there. So that's what these circles will be when you see them. So his first claw would be here. The other claw would be here. And you put the oval inside. So the little bumps. And then the arm of the claw would come around. Now in this case it's kind of hidden in this. So what you would see if his arm was straight out, you would see it would go like this, and then the claw would be there. And then at the end I always just cut it off, and that's where the pinches are. You see? And he's also got a little bump at the end here where the arm attaches. So what you really can't see, because the claw is so big in front here, see, it'll be covering over some of the mustache too, in that big oval that you've got. And that's where you divide it here, and that's where you bring the top claw, and that's where you bring the bottom claw. And I put a little line in there to make it look more three-dimensional. So it's like a little shelf in there, so that's where you can pinch. Now the bottom part of the claw doesn't move at all. So that line is part of the bigger claw, so that doesn't move. It's only the top part that pinches. So this is the claw here, and his arm is in back, attaches to here. And the same thing, the top of his arm would be there, the bottom of his arm would be there. It attaches. And then you have the other claw. And again, you would draw in the pinchers. Now his back feet, what I've always tried to do, like if you've got his body is here, his back feet are basically, it's a rectangle and a triangle. So it's a rectangle and a triangle, put together, for 3 legs. So if I drew it real big, you just see it like this, and that's all it is. So what I do is I bring one leg up down here, probably come back there, touch there. And now you're not going to see the others, so I'm just putting like these little 7s in here because you're not going to see all the other legs in the back there. If you were going to animate it, you'd need to know what the legs are so they would all be moving. But in this case, we're not going to see much, so all you're going to see is like a little 7 shape where his legs are. See, so now if we just go back and darken a little bit, then you have a blue pencil thing ready of Crabby. Now I need a regular pencil. So I pulled everything away so we can cut this part out. Thank you. Now what we would do is we would take a regular pencil and we would go in and we would darken it all up. So again, I always start with the eyes first. And just tracing over the lines you want, just leave the rest. But since Crabby's a little older, he's also a little grayer, so his eyebrows would be a little gray, so you can color those in. And his mustache would be gray, so you go around the lines you want. You can add a couple little wrinkles under his eyes because he's so busy crabbing all the time, he doesn't get as much sleep as he'd like. And then trace the outline for the shell. And then we're tracing the mustache lines. And then the claws. And you just make a nice dark line around the claw. And remember, you're only going to put a line at the top. You're not going to put a line at the bottom. Because the bottom part is part of the bigger claw. So you want to try to erase anything inside. So the claw, again, this is the part that pinches you. So then you get the arm back here. You got the back legs. 1, 2, 3 legs on this side. Bottom of his body. Do the legs back on the other side. And this is his arm. It's hidden back here. You see this little piece of that's a little piece of his arm right there. And that's the I call it the donut that holds the arm in place. And then, again, you just trace the claw. And only the top part gets the line. The bottom part doesn't get it. I'm trying to erase everything inside. So underdrawing is very important because that way you know where everything is. And then we do that, and then we could, the thing about the claws is they're a little reddish color around the edges. So you could kind of shadow them in a little bit if you wanted, just to make them look a little more 3D. His mustache is great. And it kind of looks like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow. We'll make that a little lighter. And there's Crabby.